welcome to Löyly 2019. We are now in auditorium number 1, where we will be holding our keynotes today. And the first speaker comes from all the way from Thailand, but not straight away from Thailand. I think he lives here a little nearby, maybe in Linama. Maybe he can tell you. He knows a couple of things about working as a non-Finn in a Finnish company. He came here in 2018, applied for a job in Softagram, and he got it. Nice job. And he is going to tell you how he did it and how he has been observing the Finns and the local work culture. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Robroo Somkiadcharoen.
Okay, again, that was very nice, pronouncing my name correctly. I'm very impressed by that. So, I'm Robroo Somkiadcharoen. I'm from Thailand. As far as you know, I think we are all among the same age and we are in the same situation, like almost graduate, and we want to find a job here in Oulu. So I guess maybe my experience will be something beneficial for you. I hope so. So, that's my face. Nice. So, it started that if last year someone had told me that I'm gonna get a job here in Oulu, like I would have told them that it would be unlikely to be possible, right? At least that's what most people say about it. But what exactly could go wrong if you're finding a job in Oulu? So you might be afraid of weather, that it's gonna be too cold for you to go to work, and of course it will affect your mental health for sure. And about the cultural thing, maybe you will face some cultural barrier that you cannot, thank you, that you cannot like completely blend in with the Finns, right? And there are also some language barrier and some employment problem. I know that a lot of people have some kind of doubts whether there is a paywall for the company or not, when they want to hire a non-Finns over Finns. So, when I knew that I need to come here to study in Oulu, so I did some kind of research and I thought that, okay, this may be a good time for me to find an internship. So I looked into some local job board and I found Softagram. So it doesn't say anything much about the company, so I need to dig deep into the company about what they are doing and do they really match my interests or not. And it turns out that yeah, they match my interests. So I sent an open application to them, like, okay, this is Robroo, I know this, and what I know may be beneficial for your company, like, okay, can we talk about this further? Like, and yeah, I got a job afterward. But so, fast forward to now, I'm now working in Softagram as a software engineer, and I haven't gotten any red flags so far, and I'm completely happy about them. Yep. The only downside is that I expect to have a sauna in the office, but there is none. I expect to work like 8 to 4, and then after that we will go to sauna together as a company, and then we will go home. Maybe I'm wrong, right? Yeah. I think as a student here, whether you're working or you're studying here, I think you can all agree that I think some things have the constructive feedback that you need to give to people. Like exactly just like this one. Like, I would do this, but I'm fine with that too. I don't know about your culture, but if it's from my culture, this is very impressive, at least for me. Because I think that the speaker show you directly where should you improve the work, how to make it better, And he also said, and the speaker also have no intention of trying to make you feel negative or feel bad about it, because this is like making a comment. The comment speaker should not say something that makes the feedback receiver feel a bit bad about themselves or anything. I think this is pretty good. At least I haven't. It's very, very rare to see this kind of feedback like in my culture. So I got this one going good for me in Finland, which is good. Yeah. So another thing is that I will say something about this. When you are a software engineer and you need to write a program, right? It's quite common that you need to write another program to validate that what you wrote in the first place was behaved correctly. But some people might think that this is an extra work, and if you did your job good in the first place, why do you need to validate them? But that's exactly how we do to make some foolproof of finding some mistakes that we always make. But that's not the case. So now, there was one time I submitted my first job to my company for the first time. Yeah. And then some of my mentor, the Finnish, he walked into my desk, and then he speak to me in a very low Finnish voice, like, "It's good to write test." And then he just left. He just left. Of course, I freaked out. I didn't know what to do with that at that time. And because he walked away, right, I have no chance to ask him for more clarification. And it would be a bit awkward to just take, "Hey, what do you mean about that? Could you please come here and talk about that again?" Right? So yeah, because I'm Thai, I'm a bit more reactive, so I keep everything quiet and keep working. But you know, what is, on a completely out of topic, like, do you know what is worse than getting shot? Maybe getting shot twice, right? There was a gap there. Thank you. So, the same applies to this case. Another mentor just walked into my desk, and did the exact same thing to me. Of course, they walk away. Okay, so that I feel that, okay, there is some cultural conflicts now, and I'm facing it. But still the same thing. This is not a good thing to do, but I just don't know what to do at that time, so I try to be quiet and not talk about it. So I keep working on this task and keep doing my best. But the thing is that after working with them for a while, like 2 or 3 months after this, they actually come and told me that, hey, like, the work that you did around 2 or 3 months ago, it was quite good. So yeah, so I know that, okay, it was a Finnish way of making a compliment, right? You just need to get used to it. Because I heard that if Finns don't say anything, it means that it's good, right? I hope so. This is what I learned in the company. And also, I found that Finns love discussions. We have some of my colleagues here, and they are all in this event. We had a company lunch a farewell lunch for one of our friends, and there was a dead air gap in the conversation. So I just tried to fill the gap by saying something like to make a conversation, right? As a starter. So I saw the casinos, and I have always wondering, like, who are the guys behind the casinos, at least in Oulu here. So I just asked them, and I would say that we got a very heated discussions on there. Normally they seem to be calm and they don't speak that much, but when it comes to discussion that they need to express their thought, they are a bit aggressive. I would say that. My CEO told me over here, he is quite aggressive. I was so scared of him when we were talking about this kind of issues here. But the thing is that I feel that even they are having a very heated argument, they'll still be aggressively respectful to the other thoughts. At least that's what I thought here. And after the work, everything went back to normal. Like, they're all quiet and then keep working. So, the thing is that I would like to say that I live in my small Thai world for the rest of my life here. And coming to Finland is a big bet to me. I didn't know anything. I need to leave my job, leave my family, come to here, just to, live in another place here. I was so afraid of racism, discrimination, and cultural mismatch here. But during my stay in Oulu, I haven't experienced anything such that, even in the workplace where everyone is supposed to have much higher power, right? But then, this is what I got so far, and I think it's pretty cool to live in another country and work with people from different cultures. So, since we are in this topic here, we are getting emotional. So, we all international students, we have the questions that you are always afraid to ask. Maybe because the questions are a bit not appropriate, or maybe the questions are not the ones that people usually talk to. But the thing is, I will now outsource my keynote to another speaker, Mr. Tommy Tauggren, the CEO of Softgram. I actually know this kind of the answers for this kind of questions before, but I think it would be much better if you know it from your prospective employers instead. So, please, Mr. Tommy.
Thanks, Robroo. Yeah, so there's a few questions what Robroo wanted to say. Hey, how about if you actually explain them so that these were something what he has in his mind, and then I said, okay, why not? I will do that, and then also if you have some other questions you want to ask, now is a good time to ask. At the same time, I have to say, though, I'm talking from my behalf and our company culture behalf, but during the day-to-day, so you will also hear other keynotes, so you will get the kind of understanding, and also it was nice to hear from Robroo's experiences. Naturally now we're a little bit closer, but it would have been better to he didn't need to be in this fire for 2 months to understand that it's good to write tests means it's good to write tests. Good job done. But you can learn from others. So first, the lowest class of since you don't speak Finnish. So this once again depends a lot. So from my experience and my perspective, so if currently, especially more and more, most of the companies, even startups, so they're looking for abroad, they're looking for to do international business, and they're looking also to have diverse people working for them. And in these kind of environments, there is not really that big of a difference if you speak Finnish, if you don't speak Finnish. And we are a small team. We are now 9 altogether. We have lots of students also working, but there's only 3.5 Finn there. So we have guys from US, Thailand, Vietnam, Polish, from France now coming up. So it is definitely something that we are not looking for. That's maybe in a tech world, this is something that is true. Our language is in English, and of course of the bigger companies that is the same. So that answering for this question, so no, you are not. And the second question is combining for the first one. So I see that a non-Finn could be actually better employee than a Finn. Somehow I have this experience, of course, from the people who are coming out there. You have already done you have the courage to step out from your comfort zone. You have come all the way to Finland and experienced the cold and new culture. And if you still like it, so you kind of, I feel that from a company point of view, so you'll be actually quite valuable employee. You are maybe above the normal ones, so you are ready to jump for something new. You maybe have some experience already abroad, and especially if you end up finding a local spouse, so you are most likely staying as well. And in that sense, in my experience from close to 20 years already, 17, 18 years, I always have foreigner people working in my team or in the same team, and somehow they've been always a little bit above average. So in that sense, if company has an experience, you actually might be in a quite good position to find a job. It's of course always it's up to you and what you can bring to the table. Then there was an interesting kind of a concern, completely new for me, but Robroo said lots of talks with the students is that okay, if you actually want to have work and you need to have the visa and so on, so better to look from those big international companies like maybe Nokia and so on, and they of course they could be really good place to look the job. But from my experience, it doesn't need to be in Finnish culture to get the visa, and the whole process is rather simple, and also there's so much help, so it doesn't matter. We are a really small startup, and we have done visas with our students or who have been part-time workers and going to be full-time workers, and it is rather simple process. It doesn't cost you like tens of thousands of dollars like it would be in USA, so there's no really barrier for any company to actually have you and get the visa. And I know that actually here too, so we have people, for example, from Business Oulu, so there's really good organization helping any companies to actually struggle those practicalities you might have to get, for example, the visa. So this is something that is just my opinion. It's good you don't have to have this kind of thought that okay, the only place you can find a job is a huge company because of, for example, visa issues. It's not really the case. It's if you have a place to work, the company likes you, they have a place for you. So it can be any company, and you will get the visa with the similar possibilities as in a huge company. So those were those three questions what Robroo you pointed out, and if there's any other things you want to ask from the Finnish small company employer kind of, so go ahead. Now it's your chance to ask some awkward questions. You can shout out, yeah, go ahead.
It's talking in Finnish, like the workplace together, or are they all talking English in the company?
Yeah, we are a pretty small team, so we are speaking English most of the time whenever there's anyone who speaks English, and this is also my previous experience. I was working in much larger companies that if there was somebody who came in the coffee table, so we switched to English, and that's what we do together when we find out there's only Finns, so when we turn back to Finnish. But all the meetings and everything is actually English, so that was that's bad for you guys who are staying longer because you never maybe learned the Finnish.
Yeah.
I used to work myself. I've been in working multiple years in Germany, for example, and I think in the first couple of months the boss said that it's okay that we were speaking actually English when I was in the meeting. But then after that he said, okay, it's okay that you can speak English back, but we are now going to speak only German. And then a little while after he said, okay, only German allowed. And it was really good for me because I had to learn enough local language to speak, but that's quite normal that we speak English, and all the meetings and of course code and everything is in English, and all the documents we do anyways in English. So, but it depends of course from the company by company. But any other questions? If not, let's.
Thank you, Tommy. And of course, as we know, like when I was in an audience, I never asked questions too. But with Softgram, we are going to be in the booth over there, like back there. If you walk, you will find us for sure. So you can just like tap us on our shoulder and ask some questions that you don't want to ask here, or you're not comfortable to ask here. Like, okay, see you around. Thank you, Löyly. Thank you, everyone who made this keynote happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Robroo. And if you have any questions, please don't be afraid to ask. There are no stupid questions, there are only stupid answers. This is an old Finnish saying. But yeah, Robroo, you've been here for a year now, or a little less?
Long time, just around like I came here in September last year, so it's actually not that long. Yep.
Yeah.
Do you expect me to say more than that?
No, it's a follow-up. So you've been practicing your Finnish language and like survival Finnish.
Yes.
Yeah. And what is like how is it going? Can you do small talk? Well, no one in Finland does small talk in Finnish anyways. So that's a stupid question. But how are you faring with your Finnish skills?
Yeah. I would say that I was confident in my Finnish skill back then when I studied my survival Finnish course in the university. But then after that, I feel like I completely cut myself out of this learning Finnish loop because I don't know, I try to study and I try to go with the workplace more than I try to put the effort in the Finnish culture. And I feel like as for now, we have no business barrier here that you need to learn Finnish to get a job. But the thing is that I still feel like I want to learn more Finnish so that I can like not to blend it in the business perspective, but to blend it in the terms of culture and stuffs. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always found that learning languages is easier when you listen to music. You know, if I wanted to learn Hindi, I would listen to some Bollywood songs, and then I'll be like, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, when I learn something. So have you been listening to Finnish music?
Yeah, actually I tried that. There is one song, is this Leven Polka?
Yeah.
You know it? Yeah,
that's a tough one.
Yeah. And I also try to listen to Finnish rap music. Of course, I didn't understand anything, of course, right? And yeah, I think that's Finnish songs I know so far. I also listen to some like, how do you call it here? Is it EDM, Finnish music? But still, I still find it like I cannot really observe the language to the music that much. Maybe I need to study more, a bit more, yeah.
And you can start by listening to Darude. It's really easy to sing along. You know Darude?
No.
I don't know, Darude. The sandstorm. It's the easiest Finnish song. You just go tiki 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 tiki.
Ah, okay. I will definitely look into that.
Alright, you have to show him the song.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Darude is in the Finnish is the Finnish candidate for a Eurovision Song Contest. Yeah, so you'll get to see that too. It's in May. But thank you, Robroo, and he will be answering all your questions in the matchmaking fair starting quite soon.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's put our hands together. And just in a few minutes we will be hearing from our next keynote speaker, so don't go anywhere.
Yay! I will change that here. Where is that? Remote control, but this just keeps on doing this. So 5 more minutes.
2019. And I have an announcement. If you can think of a good English term for löyly, we are taking suggestions. And löyly in Finnish is when you throw water to the hot stones. Maybe that's the only way to say it in English, I don't know. But we're gonna have some time to think about that, but now I want everyone to focus on the stage because we're gonna hear a story about mad dogs, entrepreneurship, and everything in between. The next speaker is an Englishman in Oulu. Yes, he's been here since 2002. Yep. And he's worked in several companies, including Nokia and all the big ones. And now he's running his second company, helping Finnish health tech companies internationalize into the UK National Health Service. And he has 3 kids and 8 dogs. It's my honor to present to you Mr. Ian Walker.
Okay, thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me along here today. It's nice to come back to the University of Applied Sciences. As I graduated here, I think it was in about 2014, where I got my master's degree in industrial management. So before I'm going to start, I'm just going to quickly maybe ask a question, because there was obviously quite a few foreign people here. And the question that it was one of the first questions everybody asks me all the time. And I'm just wondering, what's the first question that most Finnish people ask you when they meet you and find out that you've come to Oulu to live? You got it, yeah. Why are you here? And I've been listening to that question for the past 20 years or so, and last night I was thinking about what I was going to say today, and the first statement that I put up was, why am I here? And I suddenly started to think about a piece of advice that I give to some of my clients when they're putting together marketing material. And it comes from a guy called Simon Sinek. And he put out a really interesting YouTube video called Start With Why. And what he wanted to sort of get across was that a lot of companies talk about what they do, but not why they do it. And it suddenly seemed to just come together to me last night that actually my presentation today is basically starting with why. Why am I here? Well, it's been a journey, quite a long journey actually. So I first came to Oulu back in 1995 as a mid-20s guy, straight out of university, working for Nokia in the UK. Yeah, they were quite interesting times for a young fella. And in 1998 I was invited to come to Oulu to spend a year and a half working as an expat. Which I did, ended up going back to the UK for a couple more years before moving over here permanently in 2002 to work for a company called Filtronic in Kempele. Everything went great for maybe 6.5 years or so, until December 2008 I was made redundant and suddenly found myself in Oulu with a baby on the way 2 weeks before Christmas and no job. So I had some pretty tough decisions to make. It was quite clear back then, obviously there was the big financial crisis of 2008, it was very clear that there were no jobs available. Certainly no jobs available for a non-Fin, it felt like. I couldn't get back into Nokia. It just seemed very, very difficult. So I took a bit of a risk. And part of my job at Filtronic, or it had become Powerwave towards the end, had been to go out to China. And I spent a lot of time out in China, working in the factories there. And I noticed that there were an awful lot of electric scooters, flying about the place. And it just, again, got me thinking. So once I got made redundant, I started to think, well, what if we imported some of those scooters into Finland? So I started a company and did just that. I got a loan from Finvera and started the company. It didn't go great. Basically, I think I was probably, what are we now, maybe 10 years ahead of the marketplace, and I didn't sell that many scooters. I burnt an awful lot of money doing events and going and taking the scooters around the country, visiting different places, and eventually I just ran out of money. Luckily enough, I was able to get another job, but again, that didn't last too long, so I went back to university. But something changed along the way while I was doing all of that, and that's that little fella on the screen there. So he arrived in 2008, and he kind of turned my world a little bit on its head. So this is Robin when he was a little puppy, and he was my first husky. What started just as my wife saying to me, oh, can we get another dog? Because she already had a dog. So I said, yeah, okay, if we're going to get a dog, let's get another one, let's get a husky, because I've always wanted one, and they're quite cute and everyone loves them. So we did. He then proceeded to basically eat me out of house and home. He chewed tables, he chewed chairs, he chewed everything. To the point where we got another one. And then I got married, we had 3 kids, and little by little we suddenly now have 8 dogs. And it's still just my hobby. It's just something I do for fun. But in 2014, I started Aurora Solutions. And it was the result of me going back to university to kind of, I was very troubled by the fact that I wasn't able to get a job. Even back in 2014, it was still proving to be impossible to get, even to get interviews. I got a couple of interviews, but there was didn't seem to be any luck getting a job. Now, one of the companies I had been working for, I'd had some pretty difficult times with them, trying to get them to do stuff on the international stage, trying to get them to move their own products forward, to try to get them to develop enough so that they could go abroad. And I felt that since I wasn't able to get a job in Finland, I went back to university to try to take all of the different skills that I had learned, running my own company, working as an engineer in Nokia, working as a project manager, and try to put them together into some sort of recognisable qualification. So once I'd done that, I was in a position to start this company. I had a couple of guys in the UK who I'd gotten to know through my previous job, and we decided to concentrate on the National Health Service in the UK. So I have, like I say, a couple of guys in the UK who we work very closely together, and the idea has been that we want to assist Finnish health and social tech companies to actually access the UK. A little bit about the NHS there. It's the 5th largest organisation on the planet. I think there's only the US Army, the Chinese Army, and maybe McDonald's and a couple of other really crazy companies. But it serves 65 million people in the UK, providing a health service that's free at the point of need. And it works with a £127 billion budget. I don't know what that is in euros. That could have all changed yesterday because the pound is doing some weird things at the moment. But it funds everybody in the UK to approximately £2,000 per person per year. But the NHS, being government funded, faces huge challenges. And we saw this as being a great opportunity for Finnish companies. But the problem in the UK is that getting into that market is actually very difficult. It's a huge organisation with lots and lots of different bodies to it, different parts. There's even 4 different countries in the UK, so it's not straightforward at all. But some of the things that are really interesting are, obviously we have an ageing population, and as the population are getting older, a lot of them are spending more and more time in hospital, when actually they should be spending time recovering at home. There was a really interesting statistic that I learned, that if you're an over 75-year-old person and you spend 2 weeks in a hospital bed, you lose 14% of your muscle mass, which is equivalent to aging by 10 years. So that's really got us focused in what we want to try and do, is to get people out of hospitals, get people back home so that they can recover at home. And it actually saves the NHS an awful lot of money as well. So what we're trying to do is look for really interesting digital solutions across Finland, that we can keep patients at home for longer and basically make the whole service a little bit more efficient. So what do we do? So it's quite a big list, and this isn't the whole list at all. So basically we can accelerate market entry by using the connections from my colleagues in the UK. We can have a look at the capability of the companies here in Finland and find out where they need to improve, where they need to change in order to make them much more suitable to go to the UK. We can also provide help with data governance, GDPR, legal issues, insurance and company issues. One of my current clients, we've actually set up a company in the UK for them, and we've just won quite a major National Health Service tender for them, which is going to last them for about 5 years, which is really great news. So obviously there we can respond and help companies answering tenders, which are a very common way for the National Health Service to get information about who's able to provide products into the health service, but they're very difficult, they're complex, and they take a lot of time to do properly. So we provide help with that. We also do a lot of marketing work. We can take all the documentation, all of the marketing materials, and make it much more localized and suitable for the UK market. I spend a lot of time proofreading documents, making sure that the English works, and the English that has been translated from Finnish is actually suitable for the Finnish or for the UK market. There's quite a lot of examples of where even professional translation houses just use the wrong words, and the whole context and the feeling of what they're trying to say gets lost. So we also work with events, exhibitions, we write editorials, we look after social media and content creation. So we cover an awful lot of bases quite effectively, actually. But something I have learned over the years is that I have to be flexible. As somebody that I don't know if I'll ever get another job in the Finnish market again. So I follow my passions and my hobbies, and if they lead to something that makes me some money, then that's great. So as I said earlier, as you've seen, there's lots of dog pictures here. I do quite a bit of work sometimes during the winter, running sled dog safaris with people. I've branched out into Airbnb experiences where we offer forest walks with the huskies. So basically anything and everything. People seem to come to me and say, hey Ian, can you do something with the dogs and some friends who are visiting? And we just try and figure it out. It's not my main business, but it's a lot of fun. Again, we spoke about what my company do, but I was also approached recently to do some book editing for a local software testing company. And again, what started just writing some blog posts turned into book editing, turned into self-publishing, and we're about to launch a new book quite soon. I also do a lot of music, woodworking, triathlons, motorcycling, so basically I try to keep as busy as I can in Finland, and my one piece of advice for anybody who is going to live here is stay busy. Because if you can't find joy in living wherever it is you choose to live, then there's something missing. I've got a friend who, partly on recommendation, came from India to Oulu, and he's now settled down and he's married and he's got a really good job. But his first couple of years, he really struggled around November, December time with the darkness and the cold. And it struck me that if you're not prepared to get out and do something in the evenings when you get in from work, you're going to struggle with the darkness in living here. But when the snow comes, I'm the happiest person in the world, because as the title of the presentation goes, Mad Dogs and Englishmen refers to a song by a very well-known English gentleman, I guess. He did all sorts of things, called Noel Coward. He wrote a song called Mad Dogs and Englishmen Go Out in the Midday Sun. But I think this Englishman prefers to be out when it's -30 with his mad dogs. And I've created a life for myself here that I don't think I'd be able to find in many other places around the world. So I'm really happy with my life, and if you guys are going to stay in Finland, I really wish you all the best as well. So, thank you. And that's Frosty, by the way. She's my crazy puppy. She's mad as a box of frogs. But there you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to shout them out or raise your hand. Did anyone see the news today? Helsingin Sanomat, they wrote about the electric scooters.
Oh, right.
Did you see that? Did you catch that?
I haven't seen that, no, but they're 10 years too late.
Yeah, I don't want to open up any old cuts.
There's many of them.
Okay, and I also love dogs, and I don't know if you had the chance to talk about your dogs more, but
what do you want to know?
I just want to know, is this, like, is Oulu is it a good area for breeding dogs or having big dogs like that?
Well, at the moment I would say, as the years go past, my dog sledding season gets shorter and shorter. So we're now, middle of March, and the snow seems to be disappearing. When I first came to Finland back in 1995, I remember coming in about April, May time, and it was still -15, -20. So definitely the seasons are getting shorter. But I've got a van, so I can travel. Yeah, it's a great place to have dogs. I live out in Oulu, so right from my back garden I can go straight into the forest and take the sled out into the forest, and I can spend hours out there, not see anybody. So it's great fun.
And do you use your dogs for networking?
Not especially, no. I mean, sometimes I'll take them into the office, and that's always great fun to bring them in, because it kind of breaks the ice, and they always love to go around and get to meet all the people. But I'm not the most sociable person, so I just sit at my desk and let the dogs do it.
Yes, I asked that because yesterday we were talking about how to use your hobbies and such things for networking, finding connections, and
yes.
Have you seen any of that?
Well, yeah, I think actually some of these pictures are probably a really good example. So, for instance, this picture and a few of the others in the presentation. A little bit before Christmas, I just received a message on Facebook out of the blue from a a lady in Germany. And she said, hey, I'm coming to Finland over Christmas. Can I come? A mutual friend of ours has given me your contact details. Can I come and take some pictures? She's a professional photographer. You can have all the pictures to do what you want with, but I just want to add to my portfolio. So she came over, we spent a morning or so with the dogs. She took some awesome pictures, and I'm now using those pictures to kind of just make the things that I do a little bit more interesting. So I think this presentation, and yeah, it definitely breaks barriers down when you've got some dogs to talk about.
So everybody go get a dog.
Yes.
I think you have some contacts in that
I
area
can
as well.
help get dogs, yeah. Or 8. 8's better than 1.
Okay, so you will be, perhaps you'll be around here if someone wants to.
Yeah, I'll probably be around for another half an hour, but then I've got to go and get the kids. So.
All right, but one more time, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Ian Walker. And next line of business is some lunch for me, if they have some good soup. There's a restaurant right here. But at 1, we will have a workshop at the business kitchen area, which is like straight that way until you hit the sign that says business kitchen. They'll have a Finnish language in job hunting workshop. So if you want to learn all the cool phrases and all the nice songs like Darude's Sandstorm, go there. Yeah, easy Finnish songs. And right after that, at 2, there's going to be a panel discussion at the main hall. And the subject of the discussion will be Finnish working life. So we will see you there. Thank you, everyone. And before you go, I want to give you a friendly reminder that tonight, starting at 6, we have Jälkilöylyt, the after sauna or after Löyly, which is a nice networking, matchmaking event that happens in the city center at Health to Organic H2O restaurant. You will find information about that right next to the auditorium doors. Thank you and see you later.